Today on Polar Ice Creamery, we're going to dive deeper into ice cream stabilizers and emulsifiers, how you can create the perfect blend so that you can make your homemade ice cream sugar-free and low fat. Plus, it lasts much longer in your freezer. So as we're talking science in this episode, grab your coffee or your tea or whatever else is you want to drink and sit down because we've got a lot to go through in here. I think what we'll do first is let's get some stabilizers out onto the top here and we can discuss them a bit further. So what we've got here is a selection of ice cream stabilizers, some of the more common ones, some I just don't have here because I just don't use them. But before we dive into these, let's look at why you should use and companies use ice cream stabilizers. So large ice cream manufacturers make their ice cream in bulk and get it in the tubs and get it in their supermarkets. It has to stay in there for days, weeks, and even months sometimes. And you know what it's like, you go to a supermarket, you grab your tub off the shelf and you open it up at home, you're really excited, you've got a movie on, it's Friday night, you dig your spoon in and it's just loaded with ice crystals. You used to get that a lot with Häagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's because they used to just use egg yolks to stabilize their ice cream. And that's fine for short-term custard-based ice creams because egg yolks aren't that good at stabilizing ice cream for a long period of time. That's why they're changing their approach to how they stabilize their ice cream now. Most new ice cream companies, new within the last 10 years, will all use some kind of stabilizer, whether it be egg yolks, starches, gums, or a combination of all of them. Some companies like to throw the net out and just catch whatever comes in. They'll use most of them. There's an ice cream shop locally that has 5 stabilizers in their ice cream. I mean, it's a powdered ice cream mix. And this is what a lot of ice cream companies do. They buy pre-made powdered or liquid bases, add in the flavor and churn it. That's no good. But you've got companies like Van Leeuwen that change the approach, Salt and Straw, Jenny's, you know, all those companies make their ice cream in real time. So they'll make their ice cream bases using real ingredients in a real environment locally and then distribute it out to their locations. Look at their ingredients. You will find a stabilizer in there somewhere. I promise you. Now, these are all predominantly natural. There are a couple that are borderline. So let's just look at what we've got here. We've got tapioca starch, that will stand for cornstarch as well. Slightly different reactions, but starches, xanthan gum, guar gum, locust bean gum, tara gum, pectin, glucomannan, CMC and GMS. We've got 2 carrageenans here and, turn it on around so you can see it, and a catch-all scenario. So let's look at these as a whole and then we'll break them down individually because when you combine some of these ingredients, they do something special. I've done a few videos on stabilizers, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the individual ones. If you want to see a video on starches and gums, I'll put some links in the description and I'll probably put some kind of link up here that you can head back and look at the ice cream stabilizer series. There's a lot more detail on each individual item. But here we're looking at how to blend your own perfect combination of stabilizers so that you can make ice cream at home and it will last a good length of time. Now, when you start dropping sugars, if you use even allulose, you're losing solids, important solids in your ice cream. The solids is what makes your ice cream creamy, okay? If you were to make sorbet, it has very few solids, so it's not creamy. So you need something to create that body and that effect of a creamy texture. And you can get that with sorbet. High fat ice cream doesn't suffer with that problem because there's a lot of fat, dairy fat and milk fat in that ice cream. So you get that creamy texture regardless. But what you then get is ice crystal formation. So what you can do is you can buy an off the shelf combination such as this. This is a great one, not affiliated with any of these suppliers here, but this is a great one if you're not really interested in combining, buying different ingredients and making something that's perfect. If you just make ice cream at home and you want it to be the best that it can be, buy an off-the-shelf ice cream stabilizer blend. You can buy it from here, Special Ingredients. You can buy it from Modernist Pantry. Lots of companies out there do predefined ice cream stabilizer blends. Then you don't have to worry. Are they perfect? No, they're not. Will they get you where you need to be? 90% of the time, yes, they will. Some of these stabilizers will create gels on their own, and that's their way of increasing body in ice cream. The stabilizers predominantly known for creating gels on their own are locust bean gum, which creates a weak forming gel, iota and kappa carrageenan, which form soft and stiff gels. So kappa carrageenan creates a stiff, slightly brittle gel, and iota carrageenan creates a soft, elastic gel. Then you've got sodium alginate, that creates a rigid, hard, brittle gel itself. Gelatin, that creates a brittle gel. And finally pectin, which is this one, that creates a brittle but sticky gel. Okay. Now, all those create gels independently on their own without combining any of the ingredients. Once you start combining ingredients, you have what's called a synergistic effect. And that's just a really poncy way of saying things work well together. A couple of examples of stabilizers that create gels when combined with other gums are locust bean gum and xanthan gum, locust bean gum and kappa carrageenan, CMC and guar gum, and CMC and all carrageenans. Now, do you want a gel to form in your ice cream? The yes or no answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. If you're making a high-fat, dairy-based ice cream, then no, you wouldn't want a gel to form because there's no need for it. And what you'll end up having is an over-viscous base that is going to really struggle to churn, won't have a lot of overrun, and will actually likely go a bit hard. If you're making a low-fat ice cream, yes, you would need a combination of stabilizers to create some kind of gel. And that's because there's basically no fat in your ice cream. You need to form that gel to create that body, which gives the impression of a creamy mouthfeel. And that is the importance in a good sorbet versus a bad sorbet. A bad sorbet is more like granita, where it's really icy, big, fat, chunky ice crystals, not very nice in the mouth. You know, it's just pretty uninspiring. But a really good sorbet can taste almost as creamy as ice cream because that free-formed water is slightly gelled to create body. And when frozen, the sheer strength of your machine, whether it be a home machine or a commercial machine, creates small ice crystals, almost as small as ice cream, and then gives you that super smooth sorbet mouthfeel. You cannot get that without some form of stabilizer. So when you're making an ice cream from anything from gelato all the way up to super high fat ice cream, you still need to consider the ice crystal formation. So when your ice cream is churning, especially in your home machine, when you look above, I'll put a video up on the screen. You can see the dasher, which is the actual paddle inside. That's turning, and the outside walls and the bottom of your freezing compartment, it doesn't matter what your ice cream machine is, it's going to be the same. The outside wall and the base will be much colder than the rest of your ice cream base churning inside. So you've got this rim of super cold ice cream around the edge. So that is much colder than the middle. As your dasher is turning, it's shearing that cold ice cream off the wall and incorporating into the warmer ice cream base inside. Now, over the period of the churn, the cold ice cream is warmed up again. That's a thaw cycle. So that ice is thawing because it's going into the warmer liquid, and then it's refreezing as it touches the wall. So already what you're getting is creation of small ice crystals that are melting, and then they're forming larger ice crystals because they're freezing much, much slower. That process of churning slowly starts to cut through those ice crystals and create smaller versions, and up until the point where your ice cream is ready to draw from the machine or take out. Drawing ice cream is the commercial term for removing finished churned ice cream from your machine. So on smaller machines and lower quality machines, it takes much longer to get to that -10, -12 centigrade draw temperature. That's the ideal draw temperature for ice cream. It takes much longer to get to that stage. So the ice crystals have a much longer period of time to get larger and larger and larger. And that's why a better quality machine will produce better quality ice cream, because the ice crystals are smaller. The ice crystals is what makes you, your friends, and anyone else that's going to eat your ice cream feel much more luxurious, because the smaller the ice crystal, the smoother it is. So with that in mind, you should really consider using something to stop that. Unless you're going to churn your ice cream, put it in a tub in the freezer and then eat it within a few days, that's okay, because stabilizers really have more impact post that period. So I make so much ice cream that it sits in the freezer for weeks on end. But I know that every tub, even if it's been in there for 2 months, I can come out, spoon some out, and it's just as good as the day it went in. So let's look at some classic combinations of ice cream stabilizers. The most common commercial combination of stabilizers is locust bean gum, guar gum, and carrageenan, specifically lambda carrageenan. And in that order, you would use a 4-to-1 ratio. So 4 parts locust bean gum, 2 parts guar gum, 1 part carrageenan, lambda carrageenan. What do those individual stabilizers do when blended together? So locust bean gum is incredibly good at suppressing ice crystal formation. So that means it's really, really good at stopping large ice crystals forming in the churning phase and post-churn as well whilst in your freezer. Guar gum works with locust bean gum and actually increases its effectiveness when combined. This is that synergistic effect. They work together to reduce ice crystal formation even more, but guar gum actually has a better effect at increasing viscosity. So that is thickening free water in your ice cream base. That will make your ice cream base slightly thicker once it's chilled in the refrigerator, and it will also make it churn more effectively because it's quicker to cool down in your ice cream machine. And then finally, the lambda carrageenan part of that mix is more about the longevity of your ice cream. So that slows the ice cream melt down somewhat. That means that if you have an ice cream and you haven't used stabilizers and you scoop it out of the tub and you put some in the bowl, by the time you've sat down, you can see it's melting on the bottom of the bowl already. Lambda carrageenan actually slows that process down somewhat, holds on to those fat and water molecules for a little bit longer. Not every recipe will need the same stabilizer. That's why we come back to the store-bought blends. You're making at home, you don't need to worry about all this. Buy a store-bought blend, you're good to go. Another great combination is one that uses the same blend that we've just spoken about. So locust bean gum, guar gum, and lambda carrageenan. But you can also add the emulsifier. So an emulsifier is basically what's in egg yolks. It's lecithin. You can buy sunflower lecithin, soy lecithin, or egg yolks. All of these things will do the same. An emulsifier blends the fat and water into a stable emulsion and keeps it there for a period of time. Like I said earlier in the video, egg yolks isn't as good at doing this as sunflower lecithin. That's much better. Soy lecithin is also probably the best one as far as I'm concerned. So if you're going to add an emulsifier to your stabilizer blend, you would add 4 parts lecithin, 4 parts locust bean gum, 2 parts guar gum, 1 part lambda carrageenan. That kind of blend is a great place to start, and then you can adjust to suit depending on what you're making. Another great and simple combination is gelatin and xanthan gum. They both are reasonably good at suppressing ice crystal formation, but they have different effects in how the ice cream lasts. So gelatin is more important when the ice cream is hard, so in its frozen state. That stops free water movement in your tub, so when it's in the freezer. Opening and closing your freezer to get other food out just creates a freeze-thaw cycle, so that increases the size of the ice crystals. So the gelatin will actually help in that state, and the xanthan gum is a generalized stabilizer which has a much stronger effect when your ice cream starts to melt. So as you take it out of the freezer, you scoop some, you put it in a bowl. As it starts to slowly melt as you're eating it, the xanthan gum will retard that action and make it melt slower. Guar gum does the same thing, but guar gum can have a taste. I can't taste it personally, but some guar gum you buy in the stores can taste very beany because that's where it comes from. There are lots of combinations that you can use for ice cream stabilizers. Some work incredibly well on their own, like Tara gum. It's really good. It has this multi-effect on dairy-based and plant-based ice cream. So Tara gum is excellent as it stands. The pre-bought, really good, because they're designed to try and capture, to some degree, the best of both worlds. So they're great for low dairy, low fat, low sugar, high sugar. They're designed to work with all of those. Now, some of you are going to be sat there saying, yeah, but Ben and Jerry's don't do it, Haagen-Dazs don't do it, so why should I do it? I don't want to eat artificial ingredients. Like I said, all of these are made from plants. They're processed in a way that a lot of things are processed. The Tara gum is made from beans from the Tara tree. Guar gum, locust bean gum, tapioca starch. People that say, ice cream stabilizers are unnatural, this is an ice cream stabilizer. It's tapioca starch. Have you ever used cornstarch in a recipe? Yeah, likely you have. You've thickened a gravy or a sauce or something like that. It's the same thing, okay? Don't overthink where they come from, because they're just natural products that are adjusted in a factory, dried and powdered. That's what I mean, adjusted, excluding these two, which is GMS and CMC. I'm not a massive fan of those, so I'm just going to move those off the screen. All of these are pretty natural. You can have negative effects on some of them, with some of them. Some people, carrageenan has an effect on them. Some people say that locust bean gum has an effect on them. Just don't use it. If you know that you can't have carrageenan, then don't use it. There are lots of other options. Tara gum, just straight locust bean gum. If you can't have locust bean gum, look at your xanthan gum and guar gums on their own without any other additions. They're excellent at stabilizing ice cream. Guar gum creates a slightly stretchy texture. I mean, I'm really only talking slightly here. It's ever so slightly stretchy texture that's delicious in ice cream, homemade ice cream. The higher fat or the lower overrun that home ice cream generally creates compared to commercial really benefits something like guar gum. And it's something, if you've never used guar gum, try it. You can buy it on Amazon, pretty much all over the world. But to finish this video, I'm going to remake this ice cream here, the Tonight Dough Ben & Jerry's, in the coming video. Let's just read the ingredients, just so you can feel at home with ice cream stabilizers. The list is pretty long. Cream, concentrated skim milk, sugars, which include cane sugar, brown sugar, corn syrup, sweetened condensed milk, blackstrap molasses, wheat flour, cocoa, canola oil, frozen egg yolk, peanut butter, water, liquid whole egg, butter, coconut oil, soybean oil, unsweetened chocolate, salt, tapioca flour, natural flavoring, whatever that is, baking soda, vanilla extract, cocoa butter, soy lecithin, guar gum, carrageenan. Gone are the days when the big boys refuse to stabilize their ice cream. You heard it in there, that list of what's in there. That includes the cookie dough as well as the ice cream, but there's no way to break it down. But I guarantee you that they are using that opportunity to stabilize their ice cream for longevity in the stores. Okay. In there, we know we had carrageenan, we had guar gum, we had lecithin, which is an emulsifier. It's the same stuff you're buying in the stores, so why not make it at home? Okay. If you have questions about combining stabilizers, there's 2 excellent resources online. I'll put links in the description where you can have a read, but as always, feel free to ask me any questions you have about stabilizers and combining them. There's enough knowledge on my channel now for stabilizers themselves, so you can go back and look at those and decide on which ones you want to use and combine. If you're just starting out with combining stabilizers in your ice cream, I recommend the standard locust bean gum, guar gum, and carrageenan root. Finally, the combination of egg yolks and stabilizers, absolutely. Some people say you don't need to with egg yolks. You absolutely should consider it. Think of egg yolks as an emulsifier rather than a stabilizer, because they're just not very good at stabilizing. Okay, so with that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this scientific look into the stabilization of ice cream, gelato, sorbets, sherbet. It's all the same. You'll just need a different stabilizer. And if you're not subscribed, then please make sure you do. Click that like button. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next week.